What's up, everyone? This is Ray Baguio, and you're listening to Digitally Matters, a podcast for anything digital that really matters to you and your business. Let's start the show. In today's episode, the founder and CEO of Telework PH revealed how her previous client somewhat inspired her to start the business. Her journey managing and growing Telework PH as a rural BPO company allowed her to tap into the entrepreneurial genius from a very familiar source. I tell you, this is another conversation I learned a lot from, and I hope you will too. Okay, let's jump in and listen to the conversation. Please tell us more about yourself, Marge.
Yes, of course. By the way, thank you for having me here. And it's really a privilege to speak about myself in front of your audience. But I want this to be as much valuable to everyone who is listening to this podcast. So, my name is Marge. For everyone who doesn't know me, I am the CEO and founder of Telework PH. It's a rural BPO located just north of Manila. And the very reason that we wanted to be branded as the rural BPO is because for the longest time, I myself started as a customer service representative in 2009, 2010, or earlier than that. I've experienced, traveling back and forth Manila, sitting in traffic for 4 hours or more, and being influenced by by the people in Manila who's into, parties, all the noises in the metro, all the high rental fees and all that stuff. And it became a challenge to me over time to be traveling and being far away from my family. And I said, why not have a possibility where I can just work in a BPO, but it's near my place, my family, my where I lived in or where I was raised. And so in 2015, I had the vision of putting up an office. And initially, it's very interesting. Initially, because I didn't have the entrepreneurial background. I was not formally trained into it, but looking at my background in my family, we had a mini sari store back then, and I saw how my mom, raised us with a mini sari store. She was doing the accounting in the evening. She was buying all and filling the inventories in the morning, and doing the actual buy and sell. So I've seen that growing up. And I think that somehow become really influential in terms of being an entrepreneur. Um, when when I was working with one of the clients as a freelancer, so I worked in a BPO, right? And then after that, I realized that being far from my family was really a challenge, quite a challenge. I've never seen my son grow up at that time. And so I realized I needed to do something about it. So I worked as a freelancer initially. And then when I met a client, this client trusted me enough to build a team for them. I really did well with that, I guess. And they trusted me enough to build more. So from 3 people, we've gone to 7, we've gone to 15 to 30. Now, when we were 30 in the team, they realized that there are really some challenges with working from home or working remotely. And that includes, the background noises like roosters in the background, children crying in the background, and a lot of more distractions. And there's just, there have been, while we have the necessary tools to help us with that, it has become a challenge. Now we've grown to 30 people. And so my client said, you have two choices. One is to actually continue this and build an office where we can have everything in control, everything in one place where there is no distraction, there is no, background noises. Or second is we stop the contract. So it wasn't really a choice. It seems like I was, held up in that in that situation. And so I knew exactly what I need to do, because and at the top of my mind, it's not about me anymore, it's about my team. We have 30 in the team, and they have their own families, and we need, to have an income continuously. And so I had to build an office, a physical office from there. The good thing about it is that I was able to save enough. To begin with, I had about 2 million pesos in the bank. I risked it all. So the BPO was bootstrapped 100%. And we had a really, really tiny office when we started in 2018.
Mhm.
It was a really, really tiny office with about 20 seats to be specific, 21 seats to be specific. And then the rest of the people were continuously working from home, because these are the guys who are far from Bulacan. So these are people from Davao, people from Cavite. We just had no choice but to, just leave them working from home, because it's going to be a challenge to move them all to Bulacan. So that's when I started Telework PH, and I realized that, as soon as you establish a physical facility, you'd be immediately in the radar of BIR, DOLE,
Yes.
and then other agencies. So in the beginning, when I had no intention of growing this business, it made me realize that when you start to become within their radar, you have no choice but to grow it, because one, you have employees that are relying on you, and secondly, BIR just won't let you, like, won't believe that you're not earning. So there's just really no way of turning back. So the only way that we can move forward is to continue looking for clients, continue growing the business. And now, to date, 2020, we have about 700 agents. We just hired like 200 more. So regardless, even if it's
That's all.
a crisis, yeah, even if it's pandemic, um, everyone is looking for a job, and everyone overseas would rather use a BPO in order to survive their business.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the first client of yours who asked you to build your or this business, your own team?
Yes, so I've been working with several clients, but they prefer like one-on-one virtual assistant. And now I landed a client who wanted me to build a team for them.
I see.
And then that opened the idea that, oh, okay, so this person can actually build a team for us.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's great to know that you were able to get some inspiration from your parents when it comes to managing your own business.
Yeah, I do agree. And yeah, so it really takes me back to that time where I was still younger, and I don't really understand what's going on. Why do my mom and dad have to really work hard, and be working all the time, and be my father specifically, he is a seaman or a seafarer,
Mhm.
so he is almost always away from our family. So at the time, I don't understand why other kids would have their father beside them during graduation, and now it's all making sense. And so it became my inspiration, my passion towards entrepreneurship, that we really need to have that time freedom, as opposed to being always out there working hard in the business, not on the business.
I understand you are having or you just had your exam for your Lean Six Sigma.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us more about that? Why did you get into
Oh,
this?
yeah. Yeah, sure. So, first of all, I'm really happy that I passed the examination. It's a 150 item examination. I'm sure everyone knows what Lean Six Sigma is about, but just to give a really quick summary of what it is about, the reason I went and decided to take it is because of the growing organization. In an organization, and especially if you are scaling and growing too fast, there can be lots of things where process can be mishandled. There could be there is a certain term about the repeatability and reproducibility of the product, or I mean the process. So it's very prone to error. It's very prone to defect. That's what they call it at Lean Six Sigma. So it's likely that you will produce low quality results or service. So the goal of Lean Six Sigma is to ensure that you have a systematic process for continuous improvement of whether your product or service, so that you can deliver high quality, which is the Six Sigma. That's why there's no seven or eight in statistical terms. It means that's the highest world class quality. And it also helps open my mind towards waste in the process. For instance, in our scenario, like right now, we have multiple offices in the building that we are in, and that's essentially because we have been expanding and expanding. And when we expand, it doesn't always mean that we're going to be able to get the office space that is near our other office space. So one of the waste, or one of the things that we are doing, is whenever we're printing out materials, we'll have to go from one office to another, and the time that it takes for you to get from one office to another is already a waste. It's already a waste of time, a waste of money, because we are paying our employees by the time that they are working. And so little minor details, you can already see where you can save, where you can optimize your process to make it better, to improve it, so you don't have to like waste a lot of resources, waste a lot of time and money, to just get the thing done. So that's why I took up the green belt. So it's like a staged, what do you call this, training. So it's you get the yellow belt first, and then the green belt, and then black belt, and the master black belt. So that's how you rank up.
I believe this is going to help a lot for you to manage your business more efficiently, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you see it making an impact in your personal life as well?
I do agree with you on that. It actually, in my personal life, I've seen a lot of times where I feel it's you feel so conscious about the time. For instance, standing in line for me has been wasting a lot of my time. And so if it would, like in banks, if it would be easier to use an online banking tool, then just go for it, as opposed to just standing in line in the bank. So things as simple as that, it would really open your mind to a lot of potential wastes that's happening in your life. So yeah.
Yes, I agree. We spend a lot of time, wasted time, and I just recently read
Mhm.
about they call this book. It's actually a fable type of story. The Go Giver. I'm not sure,
Oh yeah, go giver, yes.
and it's one of the things that really stand out when Pindar mentioned that, you know what, you don't have the power to waste my time. I
Mhm.
only
Yes.
I am the only one who has that power. So when it comes to wasting time, or time being wasted, or being efficient with your time, and you mentioned about apps. So with your routine, or do you follow a certain routine, and how are apps relevant to your routine?
Yeah, especially now that everyone is working from home, I just have to have a way of really keeping things, putting me back into my routine. Especially that I don't have my assistant with me all the time, and most especially that I just gave birth. So one my daily routine would be like, I definitely would know. I've trained my baby so that I know where during the time in the day that she will be nursing, or she'll have to bathe. And so I put exactly the time frame, so I know that whenever someone books a call with me, or I need to speak with a client, I'll choose a time in my day that my baby isn't needing me so much. And one of the well, I've used a lot of apps like of course, calendar has to be there. Mostly around Google Suite, so I use Google Tasks, Google um, uh, what was that again called?
Keep?
It is, I'm sorry.
Do you use Google Keep?
Yeah, Google Keep. There you go. Google Tasks for my day-to-day task, and Google Keep is like everything in there. My passwords, my 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 details, like my driver's license number, my SSS pag-ibig numbers, all are in there. I also use of course, Gmail for all my emails. It's very basic. I mean, I don't have anything special with me. For keeping me in line with my tasks, I usually just go through my calendar for the day or for the night before anything happens the following morning. I just make sure that I know what I'm going to do the following morning.
Mm.
And then for the most part, it's essentially just keeping myself or having myself a bit about 15 minutes break in between activities. So that's how I would manage my routine.
It's like this. Ever since I interviewed or invited people to be in this simple show,
Mm-hmm.
it surprises me every time because when I was asking you about the apps and you mentioned about Google Suite, okay, I don't think she's using the same apps that I'm using, or she has the same mentality or principle towards these apps. And then you mentioned about Google Task, okay, it's getting creepier, and then Google Keep. Actually, I thinking, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one just sticking with Google, the Google ecosystem. I mean, yeah, because it's really, if you can listen to my previous episode with Dartik Lau, I told him because it's really overwhelming to use all these apps like Trello. Yeah, they're efficient for project
Yeah.
like Airtable and all the other Slack. Yeah, it's good for communication and all, but you would have to switch from one app to another, and then if they have like some sort of updates, then you would have to adjust to that. So I was thinking, instead of overwhelming myself just deciding on which
Yeah.
tools to use, why not use something or an ecosystem that works well between like tasks or apps. I use a Google Calendar to set up the event, and then it can
Mm-hmm.
create the Zoom link right away. And then when you open it, and then on the side, you can create a task. And every time you open that event, then it will open up the related task or the
Right.
Google Keep document, right? Or Google Keep.
Right.
So it's really efficient, and I'm not sure if it's the right term. It's a lean sigma, a lean sigma.
Yes. Right. I have the same principle as you do. And it's very interesting because not everyone understands how 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 could not confusing, but it's so noisy just to know that everything is on all over the place. And while it's helping you achieve some projects, achieve some tasks, it's just daunting to just go through all these apps and check, do you have message in Slack, do you have message on Gmail, do you have something like that. And yeah, I do agree with you on having that one ecosystem to have everything in one place.
When you manage your business, other than educating yourself or learning more about how you can improve yourself to be able to efficiently manage and grow your business, I'm pretty sure you follow or there are people in your life or out there whom you
Mm-hmm.
follow or you some sort of get some inspiration from for you to amass this kind of growth for you and for your business. Can you share with us if there are any?
Yeah, I think I can certainly remember in 2008 I've read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So that opened my mind about entrepreneurship more, and it helped me dive deeper into entrepreneurship. And then I've tried several businesses like networking, multi level marketing, some smaller business on the side, like selling something back in college. But certainly, what what started it all, I guess, is T. Harv Ecker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. So it kind of expanded my psychological wallet. It opened my mind into accepting more than what I'm getting. Because to be honest, back in 2000, what, 2010, I'm already nervous when I have a 50,000 pesos in my pocket. I get really, really nervous at that time. So I
Oh.
said, in the book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, it tells me, why do you have to be scared about that large amount? It's not even that large. And so now that I'm getting millions, I was like, oh, this is so like natural. I mean, it's just like, you know, and you have to understand, you have to accept that it's natural. It's not something you need to be scared of. It's not something that would make you feel like, oh, maybe someone might be looking at my account right now, or maybe someone might steal this from me. You just have to accept that it's going to come into your life. And that's when everything changed. And from that belief, I started to tap on other things that would generate income for me. So and then that specific time, when Telework PH began, I was able to really save a lot of money. So that way I was able to establish the business. And then when I do have the business, I tapped on several marketing influencers. But one person really stuck with me is Gary Vaynerchuk, for
Oh.
his really offensive and inspiring at the same time. It's really straight to the point, hit home kind of quotes about life and marketing in general. And then I've started following like Ryan Dice, Ryan Levesque, because when you are a CEO, doesn't mean that you have to oversee the entire organization. You just have to find people who would look that for you, but always stick yourself to where the money and the customers are, and that is essentially in sales and customer support. So you can get real-time feedback from customers on how they want to get their services, and then you can also do real-time action on how you would want to change their experience towards your service. That makes it perfect fit for them, and you stand out among the rest of the other BPOs. So I guess that's how I was able to compete. Not really compete, because we're not really competing with bigger BPOs, but that's how we were able to thrive this kind of business in a competitive space.
Those are wonderful people and really inspirational people you mentioned there. And the book, I'll check it out probably later. And you know,
Okay.
of- and as a business, how do you? I'm curious though. How do you acquire or attract clients? Do you get clients more from referrals, or do you have some sort of strategy when accumulating or acquiring clients?
To be honest, when we started, about 80% of our clients were referrals. We were just doing really, really well on the operations side, delivering high quality services and meeting the SLAs. But when we were doing that, it kind of halted us with marketing more clients. And while we were doing really, really well on the operations side, we want to also expand our revenue. And so we kind of switched a little bit. And this is where June Barangan is a key, because when he came in and with all his digital marketing knowledge, we set up the marketing campaigns, the paid ads, and all that. And then we tapped on one of our team member who is an American. He became the business development, which makes sense because he'll be speaking with a lot of people from the West. And other clients, potential clients. So that combination made it really, really perfect in terms of generating leads. We do right now. What we do is we generate leads from LinkedIn, um,
Awesome.
from Upwork as well, and then we do cold emails. We do uh, paid ads as well. We do video marketing, but the most converting is the story. So we do a story via the blog or via the YouTube videos, and then we do ads on them, and then everyone will see it. They're looking forward to the next story behind it. So it was a story about how the rural BPO Telework PH is helping people in the rural community and helping with poverty. So that's kind of the storyline.
I was supposed to let you go now, Marge, because it's been 30 minutes. But I have one more question. This is not just for me, but for people or either existing or those who want to be a freelancer and start their own business just like you, or start their own business just
Mhm.
like you. Can can you share with us any tip or just any principle before they start their own business?
Wow. It's funny. I get asked this a lot, but every time I get asked this question, I just don't have any specific answer to it. It's because there's just no formula or no specific tip to getting successful. But here's the thing. I can still remember how it was very, very difficult when I was starting. I've had, people um I've had an employee who has been really difficult and had to involve dole. So we had some
Issues there.
um, yeah we got some lawyers or letters from their attorneys. There had been complaints and all that, and I can still remember looking for funds to sustain our payroll. I can still remember how it was difficult to transition from working from home to working from the office just because of the differences in beliefs and mindsets.
Mhm.
But ultimately, what will make you succeed is grit, to keep pushing forward no matter how difficult it becomes. And it's very, very true that whenever you feel like quitting, that's the very most time that you shouldn't be quitting. It means that that is the breakthrough moment. So when you get past through that, you're meant to scale, you're meant to do something else, you're meant to succeed, and you're meant to level up. That's exactly what it means. So it's like, when you're playing an app and it tells you, okay, level up now, that's exactly the moment. So don't quit no matter how hard it is. But of course, at the same time, when you want to risk, it has to be a calculated risk. And the way you calculate your risk, not well, statistically you can, but it means you have tapped on networks that will help you. Initially, if you have a coach, definitely go for it. You have really looked into yourself. Do you have the funds? Do you have the means? Do you have the necessary resources right now to build a business? If not, then look for ways, like Robert Kiyosaki said. Um, don't ask your question if you can afford it.
Oh,
Ask how you can afford it. So don't ask if can I afford this. Just ask how can I afford it. So just find ways. It's sometimes just right in front of eyes, in front of our eyes, but we don't really look into it because we're looking at some other things. We're distracted. We're not looking into ourselves, our capacities. Sometimes you also, I did this. I have to go on sabbatical. I have to really like move myself away from my family, from my friends. I have to really concentrate, really focus, and do some meditation so I know what to do. I know how to, when there is clarity and when there's direction or guidance, then you'll know how to do it. So you have to first gain that clarity. I guess when you're already starting the business, the next tip that I have is niche down. It's counterintuitive when you say, "Oh, probably they're not gonna they're not gonna buy from me if I'm doing several things at the same time." I've seen this a lot of times, taking several hats or being the jack of all trades, master of none.
mhm.
Um, but when you're niche down, when you're very specific, you know the target market, you know what to offer. That's exactly what's going to make you successful in your business, in your marketing in general. So I guess those are just my tips.
it reminds me of this quote in terms of quitting. Don't quit before the miracle happens. So it's short of
Yes.
saying don't quit, because things will happen if you keep doing. If you're intentional with, like what you mentioned, if you're intentional with what you're doing, you're not wasting time. You're practicing. You're just doing things that are really geared towards, like what you mentioned about what Robert Kiyosaki mentioned, that instead of looking at the problem, there will
Mm.
always be a problem. Instead of focusing on the problem,
Yeah.
try to find ways, do something about that problem, do something that can move you from point A to point B. Okay, thank you so much, Marge. I'm learning from this a lot, from the business owner standpoint, and from someone who also has to juggle a lot of tasks, and not just in business but also in life. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much to the audience. And I hope you had valuable insights from this podcast. Thank you for having me, Ray.
Yes, but one last thing. This is not a question.
Mhm.
Can people reach you?
Yes, sure. So I'm always, almost always available online. So you can find me on Facebook, fb.com/marge.aviso, and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Marjorie Aviso, and almost always available on Telework. If you go to our website and submit to the contact form, you can also reach me there.
So that wraps up our show. That's it for now, and thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you'll join me again next time here on Digitally Matters. This has been Ray Baguio, and until next time, ciao.